We've got a running live stream. I'm Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee on April 2nd. So we're not doing April Fools. It's a Thursday and it's about 8:32 in the morning. And our weather, hopefully this is the last bad day. I don't know. It's 65 right now, high of 71, rain off and on during the day with clouds. It looks like at about noon, roughly, we're going to get no more rain until late at night. And then during the night, it's going to rain. And sadly, Friday, tomorrow, is going to rain. So it's really annoying, let me tell you, but it's probably a good thing because it's filling up the Sea of Galilee for those that are going to come in the Great Exodus. So we're not done with it yet. Maybe we are done with it. I don't know. I'll tell you what I'm looking at. Saturday and Sunday, nice sunshiny days. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sunshiny days. And then they've given us a small chance of rain on Tuesday, 40%. That's pretty far out, and it's not much of a chance of rain. And the other days are pretty much sunny mostly. And they're showing us we're going to hit in the high 70s about a week from tomorrow. So it's looking like we may be done with it. But what I used to say in Israel, Israelis don't know this, but, you say April showers bring May flowers in America. Well, I used to say March showers bring April flowers. So it looks like we're done with it. There should be a tremendous amount of water in the Sea of Galilee. And it takes a few more weeks for the water to get in because of the runoff from the Golan Heights elevation, which surrounds most of the Sea of Galilee. Not all of it, most of it, or a large part of it. And it runs down and it works its way into the Sea of Galilee. So we should be okay. Plus, the Jordan River feeds it, and the Jordan River got a lot of water. So it should be feeding it. It's a freshwater thing. You can drink it. And there's fish in there. So we should be good with that. My thoughts. Today we're going to cover what Donald Trump is really doing with the war and why he's saying he's going to be out of there in 2 or 3 weeks. Yet at the same time, the George Bush aircraft carrier group has just left to come over here. So they're not going to probably be in theater for, 14, well, a dead bare bones minimum of 10 days. I mean, it's probably going to be 12 or 14 days. So he's bringing an aircraft carrier group here, and then it's going to work for about a week and then leave. No, I don't think so. Rubio is saying, no, we're going to, liberate the Persian Gulf. And Trump is saying, well, I don't know about the Persian Gulf. That was never one of my deals. He wants to stick it to all the so-called allies of the United States. That wouldn't help Trump. Now, prophetically, I'll go through what's going on with the beast in Revelation. I can just do it now. It's real easy. Revelation 17. It's not hard. The beast with his 10 nations is going to go after Trump. And that is already begun. Why? All the nations in the world are mad at Trump. They don't want to help Israel. They want to hurt Israel. They want to let Iran hurt Israel and everyone else hurt Israel. They don't want to have anything to do with Israel. And they're resenting Trump for it. Trump is a believer in the old fake Israel since 1948, and where they got satanic leaders and stuff like that, and they just keep Israel chasing their own tail, and nothing happens. But punishment's over. Hosea 6:1 and 2. We're in recompenses, so it's time for that to end. And Trump still wants the fake Israel, so the beast is going to get rid of America because he's peeved. Okay, China doesn't like Israel, Russia doesn't like Israel, Iran doesn't like Israel, North Korea doesn't like Israel, NATO doesn't like Israel. Who likes Israel? Nobody. So except America seems to see a purpose for Israel. So that's it. America's out of line, out of order. We gotta go. And satanic things. So God's using the nation to destroy America, and that's already starting. By the way, there's a rumor. I mean, I can't believe these people got no shame to scare people and try to get offerings. There's one running around saying the colonial oil pipeline in America's been shut down. It hasn't. Since I started using AI, I have 3 AIs that I use, okay? And generally, when I want to see if something is real, I'll run it through 2 different AIs. And if they both say, no, it's fake news, I stop, it's fake news. If I get some variance, then I'll run it into the third. And I could also access many others, but it's overkill with 3. And it just amazes me every day I find fake news from people that are making a lot of money with big followings, and they're just feeding the people fake news. And then when it doesn't come to pass, the people seem to just put up with it. Now, we are getting a lot of bomb scares that are actually developing into more than bomb scares. They're actually finding the explosives. We're getting 1 or 2 a day like that in America. So it's beginning. Now, bomb scares in law enforcement are 99% nothing. A terrorist that wants to destroy a facility and hurt people doesn't plant explosives and then go pick up a payphone or a burner phone and say, hey, you're going to get a bomb at this building or that building. Okay, that's not what they do. Okay, that's not terrorism. That's some kid that didn't study for their test and want the test postponed. Or that's some idiot, or that's some derelict. Like the people that come in here that don't know us and just start putting nasty comments up because, they grew up in a lousy home, and that's their way of getting pleasure. They're that gone. And do they know it? No. They cling to some stupid protocols of the internet that are catering to disturb people that try to live their life online. You got all kinds of online and telephone tough guys. You have people that, lay in bed and they're paralyzed. It's sad, and they watch TV and they learn how to talk tough from the TV shows, and they call people up and do that because they're frustrated. Other people are just, like who shook your egg? They're just, messed up in the head, and they do things like this. That's their only. They don't know how else to get pleasure. They're that messed up. That's it. They're goners. And we get them all day. Every time we do a live stream, we get them here. I'm not the only one. Lots of people on the internet get them. They're just looking for a vehicle where they could go in and insult people, and they know how to get new YouTube accounts if they lose their account, and they just commit to a life of misery, um, and it just makes themselves miserable. Miserable. They're not even getting revenge. They're like, we didn't get anything to these people or the other people they attack on YouTube. And, they're just nuts. Generally, they're children. Most people that are grown up realize what a waste of time that is, but they don't. Okay. It gives them a kick to insult adults, without getting their head handed to them. So that's basically what's going on. It's all about Israel. And you remember, I never really spent a lot of time on the Ukraine-Russia war because I knew that wasn't it, you know. I had another idiot I found last night, and I go to some of these sites because sometimes they have good news, and I verify it, and it verifies, but you don't normally pick it up. So, my Israel news is social media, and I have reliable sources that are pretty darn good. I got one source that makes mistakes every now and then, but it's pretty rare. And being, I guess, an S-bot never admits the mistake. So that's where we're at. I had a Weisenheimer I had to do some spiritual warfare against. That's finished. Okay. I'm going to go into the live stream and see what's going on. We are taking a lot of attacks since Passover started, which is rabbinical Passover, not necessarily using the right dates. And that was the rabbis started their Passover last night, and they've been pelting us. I woke up about 4:45, I think, or 4:15, something like that, in the morning, and they were red alerting my area. And I didn't hear the explosion of the takedown right here. I heard it some miles away. I think I heard it from Haifa. Let's see how this is. So it's pretty painful in Israel right now for a lot of people. So it's pretty painful in Israel right now for a lot of people. Guys, somebody puts up the Shroud of Turin, you can take it down or block them. That's not real, okay? That's that's somebody making an idol. That's false, snooze. That's silly. It's stupid. It's not in the Bible. Okay. So someone that comes in here and says, check out the Shroud of Turin, is either a Satan bot or greatly deceived. And I would likely go Satan bot on that one. Keyboard warriors, yeah, that's it. We used to say telephone tough guys or keyboard warriors. Am I a Zionist? The Bible's Zionist. God's a Zionist. But the Zionist is not a word that's a biblical word. The Lord says he made a covenant with us to give us the land from the Euphrates River to the Nile River, which is about 100 times bigger than this. And he did it by covenant, and God is not a covenant breaker. It's in Genesis 15. So that's what I go by. If you want to call that being a Zionist, go ahead. I don't think that's the correct term. Zionist has more political implications pertaining to the government of Israel that have no relevance to the Bible. So I don't really know how to answer that, but I answered it in a way that I thought I could. So they're squatting on our land. Who's squatting on our land? Lebanon, Turkey, Iraq, Syria, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Egypt, Djibouti, Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, Uganda. I think I covered it. Some of them are not, their whole country is not on our land, just part of it. Like Egypt, Turkey, Iraq, I think. Checking for typos. No typos. Okay. Being a, let me get this shut off. There we go. Being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise now. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so that's the biblical explanation of what's going on with Trump. They're going to turn against Trump. Now, the British have, what is it, an oil field in Erbil, which is in Iraq, I believe. Yeah, I'm getting it together. That's what it is. And it was attacked by Iran yesterday or during the night. And we'll see what's his name in the UK, Starmer or Starmer? No, Starmer. I don't know. He's a jerk. We'll see what he does. He just got finished saying, "Oh, we're not entering the war." Well, dumbbell, you got a problem because um, Iran entered the war against you, you dim-witted, dunce-cap wearing moron. Uh, it's pretty harsh on him, but he's an idiot, and he's anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, and he's pro-Islamic, and they're destroying his country, and now they're destroying him, and he's sitting there. Well, I'm not going to fight. See, he's such a coward. See, these people are not operating with their unclean spirits as they used to be, courtesy of certain people. I don't know who that would be, huh? Well, of course, it's us. I'm kidding. Are doing spiritual warfare against them, and they can't work with their demons the way they used to. So they're scared to do anything. But the Iranians are not, and they're attacking him. So he can sit there and do nothing, and he's going to have all his assets in the Middle East attacked. He's, what would you say? He's dumb as a bag of hammers or something? Well, they all are. Every leader of every country is a Satan bot. Let me go through this one more time so you understand this and you get it down. I'm trying to do this politely. The least intelligent of the believers is way the heck smarter than the smartest Satan bot, okay? Or the richest Satan bot like Elon Musk or so, if he really is the richest. I mean, what are they going to do? Take their money to the next life with them? I mean, the Egyptians tried that. All their junk got left behind. It didn't work. I think that at one point these idiots were killing their servants when they died so the servants would be with them or something. Yeah. So they wanted to put their slaves into slavery for eternity. See, there's no limit to the vain imaginations of Satan bots. The demons are supernatural beings as they see it, and they are because they're spiritual beings. So they're different, and they lie to them and say we're gods or we run things or something like that. And uh, the people chase after them and believe it. It's sad, really, but they do evil. The people do evil, and they like doing evil. That's what you need to understand. They enjoy it. They enjoy it, and that's where they're going to pay the price forever and ever. You can't have them in heaven because they're good for nothing. They only bear bad fruit. They have a black heart, not a hard heart, a black heart, and they just do evil. They love lying. They thrive on lying. Lying makes their world go round. If you look back and, well, if you've got them around you in your life at work, or, remember when you went to the churches before you came out from among them, you were, they were happy with you and nice to you as long as you believed their lies. Once they would realize that they're not buying your lies, well, that you're not buying into their lies, I should have said, then they start hating you. So as long as they see you condemned going to the lake of fire, they're happy with you. Once they see that's changing, they hate your guts. That's how they are. So we're going to go through Trump's speech yesterday about what his goals are for Iran and debunk it. We're going to discuss more detail, quite a bit of detail, about these expeditionary force Marines and the ships they come with and what they could be used for and what Trump's targeting now and what his plans are. So let's get into it. I believe there's one prayer request. Let's cover that now. For NE Normandy Echo, NE Normandy Echo, NE. Okay. Prayer request for healing with the eyes. So NE Normandy Echo, prayer request for healing of the eyes. I already prayed, so you guys can get the prayers out. Okay. Well, I should do it, and then we could agree. That'd be stronger. Okay, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for NE. I pray for healing for this eye condition. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that as a believer. Okay. All right. Just a quick reminder here. Romans 2, verse 8, 9, and 10. Unto them that are contentious, indignation and wrath, trouble and anguish of the Jew first, and also of the heathen, the Goyim. So what it says actually, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Goyim. Now, but then it goes on and says, but glory, honor, and peace, that's shalom, to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Goyim, the heathen. So the bad stuff and the good stuff come to the Jew first, then it goes to the heathen, to the nations. So it's starting in Israel, well, it's finishing. We're wrapping up the bad stuff pretty quickly. Then we'll get the good stuff, and the world's going to get the bad stuff. And they're never going to be around for the good stuff. But since you, as true believers, are in Israel, and all Israel shall be saved, you will be here in the next great Exodus, stopping in the wilderness to pass under the rod and enter the bond of the covenant. I'm not sure how long you'll be there. I'm looking in my mind, I'm coming up with about 40 days, not 40 years or anything like that. And then you'll come to Israel. And it's in Israel where the Lord accepts you. It says that in more than one place in the Bible. That's why I'm here. How can you be ministering if the Lord doesn't accept you? He says in Israel is where he accepts you. So go ask all the church pastors that and see what they tell you. They'll throw you out of the church if you keep talking like that, which is a blessing. They'd be blessing you if they did that, if you're still in these churches. Romans 1:16, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to every one that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. Okay, learn. Jeremiah 25, verse 31 and 32. Jehovah hath a controversy with the heathen nations. He will give them that are wicked to the sword. Are we seeing this in Iran, Iraq? We just saw a lot in Syria, but not so much right now. Are we seeing it in Lebanon? We saw a ton of it in Gaza. We saw some of it in Yemen, but not to the fullness. And now we're seeing a bunch of it in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. The sword, Iran attacking. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation. That's not Israel. Israel is not heathen nation to heathen nation. And you're seeing it in the Middle East, but it's going to spread, believe me. And then you got to read Jeremiah 30:11 and Jeremiah 46:28, where God says he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered Israel into. And that's the time of Jacob's trouble. It's associated in there. And great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. That's what you're seeing now happening in Israel. We're in Jacob's trouble now. It didn't get to a culmination yet, but it will. It didn't reach its peak, but it will. Israel says it has completed strikes on vital targets in Iran. The IDF says the Air Force has put nearly all pre-designated vital and strategic targets out of operation, including military, industrial, and nuclear-related sites, while pressing attacks in Tehran and opening a new ground line in southern Lebanon. Yes, we're boots on the ground in Lebanon. And they're launching lots of missiles at us. The predominant amount of people that have been admitted in the hospitals in Israel are predominantly for injuries running to the bomb shelter. You really should walk rapidly to a bomb shelter if you're going to go in one, not run. People aren't dressed right. They don't have the right shoes on. They might have gotten woken up out of a dead sleep and they start running in the dark. No. You're much better walking. If you fall before you get to the bomb shelter, you won't see the bomb shelter. You won't make it. You'll be laying on the ground. You won't be able to get up. You won't be able to walk. You'll have to hobble and. I don't think they emphasize that enough to the people, but they should. That's the most of the injuries. Then you have shrapnel, getting hit by shrapnel from the takedowns in the sky. And you have a few people that got actual injuries from the bombs and stuff like that. Okay. The senior official said the damage inflicted on Iran's military industries and nuclear infrastructure and was expected to prevent the government in Tehran from restoring its ballistic and nuclear capabilities for a long time. Yet, this is me talking, the firing isn't random. Iran's retaliation strategy shows command and control intact. That was someone else talking, I'm quoting. So, they're really not that out of commission militarily. They are, but the country is busted up severely and seriously. There's undoubtedly no doubt about that. I mean, it's for sure. Okay, they're really busted up, that country, the whole country. But Israel is going a little bit too far by talking like that, because we're still taking a lot of missiles. Is there a good ground op going on in Lebanon? I think so, but they let it. Why did Netanyahu wait? He should have gone in 6-8 months ago. Why did he wait for them to rebuild? Because he's stupid and he's evil. He's mean and dumb. That's why. He's not smart. He's an idiot. He's got shrewd, nasty ways about him. What he does to political opponents and stuff like that. He doesn't kill them. He just busts them out of politics. Iran is no longer just mirroring attacks on its own soil. It's expanding its response by targeting parallel sectors. In other words, you hit my electric generator, I hit yours. You hit my oil, I hit your oil. And that can vary from energy to nuclear sites to industry to colleges, academia, anything, hotels, And this lets you know it's ready to raise the cost to the enemy. This is something you don't usually understand or notice. They're ready to have the whole nation destroyed. They don't want to surrender. If they surrender, they're going to probably have to leave Iran. Or they don't trust America and they may get prosecuted for war crimes. Maybe not by America, maybe not by Israel, maybe by Qatar or Kuwait or UAE or somebody else. And America's not going to get in the way on Iran's behalf. And they wind up to going to the gallows. How are they going to get away with killing, probably in reality, about 100,000 of their own people? Protesters, they call them, right? How can they get away with that? They can't. The Iranian people are going to want that pound of flesh. That leaves them at the gallows. So they don't have a way to go. Who's going to take them in if they leave? Let's see. They attacked everybody in the Middle East. None of those countries are going to take them in, Turkey included. Russia might take a few of them in. Russia's not going to take, 11, 12,000 or something like that. They're not going to take them. China's not going to take them. They got nowhere to go. So their game is let's keep attacking and let's hope the countries throw the towel in. And then we'll make a deal and we'll tell them that we're going to control the Persian Gulf and collect the tolls on the ships coming in. And we're going to have no sanctions. We're not going to reduce anything pertaining to missiles or nuclear material. And we're going to collect war reparations from the nations in the hundreds of billions over 10 years to rebuild Iran. And that's their game. And Trump is not willing to let that work. He brought in B-2s and B-52s yesterday for bombing things like missile cities. Now that works. If they got the payloads they carry, they can disable them. So they're running around disabling the missile cities. Okay. That's why I think Trump's talking 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to take him 2 to 3 weeks to destroy the missile cities, but I don't think he's leaving that quick. I think he wants that oil. A 6-story building collapsed in Tel Aviv yesterday. One was injured, 4 apartments were damaged. I don't know what happened. They're saying they're investigating what happened. Can I believe that this was a coincidence? It had nothing to do with the war? No. No, there might have been some faulty structure or something in the explosions. The force caused it. They're investigating it. They said the incident is not related to the war with Iran, and the cause of the collapse remains under investigation. I don't understand how they could quickly say it has nothing to do with it. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. MERS, MERZ, MERS criticized after calling for the Syrians in Germany to go back home. The German chancellor has drawn condemnation from NGOs and members of its own government. And that Satan at work, his chosen people, the Muslim terrorists. They're the only people that want to go around killing the Jews. For now. It is true that the U.S. bond market is currently experiencing significant stress. People are selling off the bonds is what's happening. That hurts America. It puts multiple pressure on the United States Treasury. The old safe haven of buying American bonds is dissipating, flying out the window. Also, inflation fears are causing this. Fiscal deficit concerns regarding the federal debt has surpassed $39 trillion. It's hurting the economy. This Trump needs like a hole in the head, you know? He's not, what I see, Trump's not really paying a lot of attention to the value of the dollar against the other currencies right now. He's keeping it down, which is keeping the price of oil even cheaper when he sells oil. So Trump says we're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Yes. Why? Because he's trying to get the Iranians, the military ones, to throw the towel in before hold on a second. Now we had a crazy occurrence. Pakistan and China together have released a plan to end the war, and the White House is not opposing it. So whatever they came up with was comfortable to Trump, but I have not seen it. I don't think it's been released publicly. Netanyahu's running around playing Bible games with the people's heads. So we hit Iran with 10 plagues. Oh, God hit Egypt with 10 plagues, not man, you jackass. To call him a man, that's another, that makes me a jackass. Okay. Eight people in Israel lightly injured by cluster bombs in central Israel as the Iranian attacks persist across our region. So America did launch massive strikes on the Iranian ammunition bunkers near Isfahan. How do you pronounce it? Isfahan. Overnight, and the crude oil tanker set ablaze by a drone strike in Dubai. It briefly caused a spike in oil prices, but they managed to use, I guess they used their reserves to suppress the oil prices. So Trump knows he's really not able to run the war. And do everything for the economy, but he does try hard. Let's see what's going on in the live stream real quick. If I got questions, prayer requests, or whatever. This new format that YouTube went to is just pure crap. Pure junk. Okay, no, I'm good on prayer requests. questions. Okay. Um, so we also had B-2s and B-52s told you attacking this Isfahan area last night. There's missile cities, underground fortified missile launching facilities there that were in the mountainous areas of Isfahan, and they were getting hit by the B-52s and the B-2s and probably damaged, if not devastating. The Pentagon is sending 18 more A-10 Thunderbolt planes to the Middle East, doubling its fleet. I know they just sent 12 and they probably had a bunch. Now they're going to have about 36. This is the A-10 Warthog, okay? It does use the 30 millimeter shell. It fires 3,900 rounds a minute or 65 rounds a second. It carries something like 1,115 rounds. So it got several seconds worth of bursts, okay? You don't even want to put a full second on a burst. You know, regular machine gun goes, right? These things go, you know, you just, you just tap your trigger and it's going to shoot 10, 15 rounds or something like that. 30 millimeter round, you're talking about a projectile like this. It's close to artillery. I'm not kidding. It's not artillery, but it's close to, um, you know, an artillery shell. They usually don't put an exploding shell in there. I think they could, but they don't. They have armor piercing. They're technically, I think they're all like armor piercing. They go over 3,000 feet per second. So it's full metal jacket. That's going to rip through a lot, but they could have an armor piercing. And a common combination it depends what you're trying to hit. But in Iran, a common combination is they're going to be loading armor piercing incendiary rounds in it, so it can shoot through armor, tanks, armored personnel carriers, armored jeeps. It can shoot through that and it will cause fires inside. Okay. And you could also use those to knock down walls and things like that. If they're attacking go fast boats, which I'm pretty sure they will be doing, it will help get the boat to catch on fire. And when the boat catches on fire, the guys are going to go overboard. They're going to grab their vest and jump into the ocean. Then they're no longer a threat. Okay. I saw some guy sitting there saying that these rounds go 7,000 rounds a minute, and that's nonsense. They don't. It's a 7-barrel Gatling gun. Okay, so it generally hangs underneath the point or the nose of the fighter jet, and it can be, turned and all that stuff. And it's computer controlled, radar controlled, computer controlled, very, very accurate. And it's an amazing death dealing machine. Initially, they had them with a 20 millimeter round, and then I think they went to 25, and now they're up to 30 millimeter. That's a really, really potent round. I mean, that's a death dealing thing. I mean, it's if you shoot an aircraft with 30 millimeter, you just give a little burst, you know, 10 and 12 rounds, and you hit the plane's going to just fly into pieces. Where you hit it with a 20 millimeter, it's going to break up probably, but not as effectively. You hit it with a 50 cal, which is the root of all of these weapon ships, is a 50 cal. That's what they used to put in Vietnam. They had um, like a predecessor of the A-10, you could call it, and it was called Puff the Magic Dragon by the guys. And of course, that's from a Peter, Paul, and Mary folk song pertaining to smoking marijuana, and they were smoking marijuana in Vietnam a lot. And they would, so anyway, they would smoke marijuana, they would drink beer. What a great idea to sit in your fort. They have these forts, and the military would bring a helicopter every day, would come in, and they were getting steaks every day. They had barbecue grills out there. If you went and you were stationed in one of these forts, I don't know if it was really a fort, an outpost in Vietnam. A lot of it were Marines doing this. It wasn't always Marines, but a lot of them were Marines. And they didn't have a big wall around their fort. Unfortunately for them, it would have been better if they did, but they didn't. What they had was they would clear the land of all the debris for probably 100 or 200 meters so they could see whatever was coming in, right? That's important. And they didn't have generators with searchlights at night, unfortunately. So they had, when they felt they were getting hit, they would shoot these flares in the air. They had a little parachute and it would come down and light everything up. But the parachute would, keep it maybe 30, 45 seconds or something like that. And when they lit everything up, they'd mow them down. Well, they had a Puff the Magic Dragon. They had, I guess, several of these. It was a full size plane, not a fighter jet, and it had several guns on it that were 50 cal. And what it did is it would put a bullet in every square, I think it was every square foot of land where it would work. It had several of these guns, and when they were getting overrun, if they could get Puff the Magic Dragon out there, the guy would look at where the enemy was charging from or where they were encamped, and he would fly over with Puff, and it just would, anything in that area would get killed. Anything and everything would be dead. The other way they did it is they'd call for 2 or 4 fighter jets carrying napalm bombs, which would burn them alive, and they would drop the napalm and it would spread, and they would just burn the enemy up alive trying to come at these guys. But they also, some of the enemy would get through. If they came at night, it was not so easy for the fighter jets to know where they are and drop the napalm. The soldiers in the base didn't know the size of who was attacking them. It was dark. Sometimes they actually had an artillery piece or 2 or 3, and they would sit there and pound artillery into the base, which was scary for them. They usually dug down, not very far, but down enough into the dirt. and then they built a roof structure over it, and they put a lot of sandbags on it. Apparently, that was enough to protect them from artillery, and they would go inside there. But you had to be careful because while they were taking artillery, infantry could be charging their outpost. So they stayed in foxholes. They dug holes in the ground and they got in there, and they would observe the perimeter by being in the foxholes. So if an artillery shell landed in the foxhole, which wasn't likely but possible, they would probably all be dead in the foxhole. But if it landed nearby, the shrapnel would probably not bother them because they were, below ground level inside there, but they had their head out looking. They had these periscope things occasionally they used, but that was it was uncommon. So these guys that were doing that, I was never there, but I knew a bunch of people who were. They gave you whatever you wanted. If you were stationed there, you got whatever you wanted. So they would bring them in with a helicopter every day, like steaks, hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever they wanted to eat, right? Baked potatoes, French fries, all the accoutrements, right? And they'd bring them pallets full of cold beer. The helicopter would fly them out with cold beer. Now, they had no way to keep the beer cold out there at that outpost, but it would stay cool for a few hours if they put it underground where there was no sun in their bunkers, so they'd have it for several hours cool. And they would be drinking beer. Now they're out in the sun, it's 95 degrees, they're sweating, they were running around usually without shirts on. So they were not necessarily getting stone cold drunk because they were sweating it out, but they were drinking beer as a beverage, and they were used to it. And they didn't get drunk, but it had to have an effect. And then they used to smoke marijuana, which was idiotic. I wouldn't want to be there around a bunch of jerks smoking marijuana and drinking beer. And it got worse. If they were really worried, they took anti-fatigue pills. So if they had signs and indications they were going to get hit at night, this was speed, dexedrine, benzedrine. They would take anti-fatigue pills, drink beer, smoke marijuana, and stay up all night. Now, generally, when that happened, they'd stop drinking the beer and they would stop smoking the marijuana. They would, but they had it in their system, and they would stay up all night. And then during the day, they'd go to sleep because the Kong didn't want to attack them during the daytime usually. So they gave them everything they wanted, beer, but they don't do that anymore. They don't bring beer to the in a war zone. They used to do. I knew a guy that was flying in bombers in Europe, and he told me before they took off, they gave him a tankard of rum. Now, a tankard of rum would be this. This is coffee, not rum, but full of rum. So they got them drunk. Now, these guys were not, they were used to it because it happened every day, so they wouldn't get blotto, but they would, they gave them, I guess, they had to know how much of that they could drink. So it was so scary, they didn't want to do it. They did 25 missions. If you lived through 25 missions, they sent you home. So you might go out 3 days a week on a mission, and you wouldn't be there in the battle that long. And then I think they figured if you could live through that, they would have you train other people. Now, there must have been some places where they didn't quit 25 missions and probably made them do more, or maybe they sent them home for 3 months or 6 months, and then they came back and did it again or something. I don't know the whole story, but a ton of them never came back. A ton of them. All right. So the American military is all different today, not like that. So those A-10 Warthogs are going to be very useful for ground operations because they could destroy armor easy steezy. They could just rip tanks up. And, if you got reactive body armor and they're putting 35, 40 rounds in there, what good does that do you? Reactive body armor is going to stop the first few rounds. Then the next rounds are going to start hitting your armor on the tank, and they're going to probably cause the tank to blow up and burn eventually. You may have to come back and put another 30 rounds in the tank a second time, but the tank's going to get destroyed. And their tanks are not good, like with reactive body armor. They don't have that. They just got basic armor, as far as I know. Trump actually was the first sitting president to go to the Supreme Court and sit down and watch oral arguments on Wednesday last week. No, yesterday. Sorry, not Wednesday, not last week, yesterday. And he watched the key Supreme Court justices cast doubt on his effort to restrict birthright citizenship. So in other words, two people or one person comes over here into America illegally, they're criminals. They give birth to a child inside the United States. The child is a citizen. Then the mother has to take care of the child, so they petition the courts to let the mother stay here. So the child has a right to be here since it's born in America, and it needs the mother to take care of it, so the mother gets some sort of permanent residency. Now, this is a sick system. Trump is right, and he's trying to get rid of it, and they're not interested, apparently. I think he attended because he wanted to testify, but they wouldn't like that, probably. It's a stupid system doomed to destroy the country, and if they want to cling to it, they want to destroy the country. It's the British Castrol, Castrol oil company in Erbil, Iraq, that got attacked. Damage, I believe, damage too. How much, I don't know. Storm is not going to do anything. Trump says, I want to thank our allies, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. We will not let them get hurt. First of all, I don't think Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain did anything with any meaningfulness against Iran. I'm rather sure that I never heard anything about that. So there was some feeble meek attacks by Saudi Arabia, maybe Qatar too, but nothing serious. He's not going to let them get hurt. Well, they're already hurt. They got all kinds of damage in their country. So Trump's just, swinging the bull here. Trump saying we're going to hit them, meaning Iran, extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We are going to bring them back to the Stone Age where they belong. Well, this again is a futile effort at trying to get them to throw the towel in and surrender, but they're not going to because they're afraid they'll be in jail or on the gallows getting hung or firing squad or something. They don't know where they're going to run to. So they're trying to go for broke and they're going to lose. The more attacking of other nations they do, the worse it gets for them. But they don't have an alternative. They don't know what to do with themselves anymore. This is Trump talking. If there is no deal, and there's absolutely zero signs of a deal, zero, we're going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. So he's saying in one afternoon or one evening, they're going to hit all the electricity. That is going to bring us to the prophecy for this, Jeremiah 49, starting in verse 34, to the end of the chapter, which is Elam, which is Iraq and Iran. And in between Iraq and Iran lies Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman, which these countries never existed in the Old Testament days. So they're in there. They're in that piece of land, so they're going. They all scatter they go into every nation in the world, so that's got to precede Jeremiah 30, verse 11, where there would be no place for them to go. You understand? So everything is moving perfectly for prophecy. Okay, now, of course, we could always have an interruption, and there's a peace deal, and they stop fighting for a month or two, and then it starts up again. But then this isn't going to go away. It's unfulfilled prophecy getting fulfilled. So hitting the electric plants is also likely going to affect the missile cities in some way, shape, or form. And it's also going to interfere with them setting up new industries. Israel hit a third iron plant yesterday, I think, or maybe the night before. So they have 4. We hit 3 of them. Now, oil is going up. Trump is slipping on keeping the price of oil down. Now, we're going to have to keep talking about 2 types of oil. Paper oil, which is future contracts, which is more or less gambling and not all that meaningful. Although it is meaningful, it's not that meaningful. And we also need to look at physical delivery. So the WTI, West Texas, that's the American oil, is now at $105 a barrel. Remember, before this started, it was around $65. So it's about up $40 a barrel. That's not going to break people at the pump or anything like that, although most people are now over $4 for gas in America. Now, when you're talking physical delivery, we're seeing extreme spikes periodically going $150, $170 a barrel. That's what people are really paying. And that is more than double. It's almost triple what it was before the war. So it's only a matter of time till your pump prices are going to get higher. But I don't think they're going to be panicky. America's probably never going to go to $7, $8 a barrel because they got their own oil, unless something happens to their own oil. Or maybe they will. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Um, there's an olive oil shortage because of a bad harvest. Yes, you heard me right. Olive oil. Does anybody use olive oil for fuel? Not that I know of. I'm just throwing it in there. When you're talking extra virgin for a liter, which is a good sized bottle, um, you're talking on different grades and qualities and hype on the brands. $11 to $22 a liter for extra virgin. That's a lot higher than it used to be. You know, $3, $4 for a liter in Israel because we had so much of it. But now we have our own olives here on our property. That we have a huge tree. We could, if we wanted to, I guess, pick the olives and take it to a press and have it pressed, and they'll bottle it, and but we'd probably wind up getting 25, 35 bottles of it. I don't know what we're going to do with it. Probably be easier for us to pick up a bunch of the olives and can them and eat them. You don't, if you want to have olive oil for your health, let me give you a tip, okay? And I do this myself from experience, okay? I do it. Take the olive itself, forget about this extra virgin, cold pressed, all the other stuff they try to organic, cold pressed, extra. Okay, just get olives. Okay, our olives are organic. We know what we're doing with our own olive tree. Or just if you need organic, it's probably a good idea. And just eat the olives. So how many do you need to get a good dose? Depending on an average size olive, you need about 11 or 12. You want to push it, eat 15, 16, 17 olives a day. And you'll get a real good dose of olive oil. And you don't have to mess around with the extra virgin and all that stuff. Now, you got to be careful what kind of olives you're buying and how they come. A lot of time in Israel, they're in a can, and they're fine, and you just eat a bunch of those, and that's it. Italy has good olive oil also. I think your two choices are Italy and Israel. Israel has big olives. They're about like this, and they're red. Are they tasty? Yes. Tastier than the stuff you get in Israel? No, not necessarily. They're different tastes, but they're both nice. They're good. The other thing you can buy in Israel is they take fresh olives and they pit them. They get the pit out, and then they fill it with garlic, a slice of a garlic clove in there. Is that nice? I love it. It's costly though. I love it. You got to go to the shuk, the live market, and get it, but I really like it. How else can you do it? They do the same thing, and instead of putting the garlic in there, they put a piece of hot pepper in there. Is that nice? Well, depending on how hot the hot pepper is, yeah. I mean, if it's going to be like you're going to go, it's to me not so nice. But yeah, it's generally good. Have I ever seen them put the hot pepper with the garlic together? No. There's not a lot of room in there. So, no. They could put it in some sort of you buy a container and have olive oil in the container with pieces of hot pepper floating around in there, and you let it sit around for a couple of weeks. And then when you eat it, you get the hot pepper effect. If you got to have that, which I don't. The garlic I like. So you don't need to worry about, if you want to use the garlic to cook, remember that once you heat it up, it putrefies. It's not your best friend for cooking. What's better? Butter. You want to cook vegetables in a skillet, throw butter in there. It's not going to hurt you. If you buy good butter, it won't hurt you. That's all you need. you know. So you just take a small handful, a little over a dozen olives, and eat those, and you got your dose of olive oil for the day. It's going to wind up costing you less money to do that than it's going to cost you to run out and buy some sort of expensive olive oil. You know, okay, now, um, so the WTI is 105, and the Brent is close, 107. That's getting more normal up at the high prices. Um, Physical deliveries are showing 150 to 170 per barrel, depending on the region and what's going on. Now, we need to talk about gold. We got to enlighten you on gold. Gold has come up now, it's 46.65. Let's hope it's bouncing. And silver 71, slight bounce up. For physical gold, what you're going to pay is anywhere from 47.50 to 5,200 an ounce. See, when you look and you say, oh, gold's 46.65, that's talking about paper gold, which is just gambling, okay? When you actually want the gold in your hand, you're going to pay at least 47.50 up to 5,200. China was recently trading gold that people were paying 12 to 13% over the paper gold price. So if you go to a store to sell you gold and the guy wants to give you the paper price minus a fee, don't go for that. What you need to do is call the guy up on the phone and say, hey, do you got any gold rounds or bars? I want to buy some. And they'll say, yeah. And then say, how much are you getting an ounce? And you'll see what they're selling it for. Then when you walk in and you want to consider selling it, you can see what they want to pay you for it and see if they're jipping you. Because if, let's say, gold's 46.65, if they're going to sell it to somebody who walks in after you do for 46.65, they're going to want to pay you probably 4,500. So they're going to make $165. But a lot of times, if it's 46.65, they'll sell it for 4,800. And if they want to give you, 4,500, that's pretty much too much of a spread. But a lot of them may not want to do business any other way because they got risk, of a price plunge while they're holding inventory. So that's physical silver goes also, but it's much lower. They're going to charge 73 to 75. So silver's 71. So they might give you 71 and then sell it at 75, or they might give you 69 and sell it at 73, or I don't know. it just depends what they're doing. Okay. Now, I know some of the gold dealers are scared to start buying inventory at these high prices because not too long ago gold was $1,000 or so higher, so they can't take a hit like that. That's devastating to them. They could take a hit of $100, $150 an ounce, but even 250, but 1,000, it's a hard hit. So they're gonna try to probably tell you that you know they'll call buyers up on the phone that are waiting for gold to come in and buy it, and they'll say, "Okay, I can pick up 8 ounces. Do you want them?" And the guy will say, "Yeah." And say, "Okay, I'll have them this afternoon. You're going to come in?" "Yeah." And if the guy stiffs him, well, that's the last time they ever talk. But, that kind of deal. Trump's stated plan from his speech last night. Okay, this is important so you understand what's going on. Destroy Iran's missile capability. He emphasized crippling ballistic missiles and drone systems. Now, this is great because it'll stop the attacks on Israel, okay? And I'm really glad to see that happening. Well, we still got a problem with Hezbollah in Lebanon that he's not helping us with. And it's directly tied to the attack on Iran as an ally of America. If we were not attacking Iran, Hezbollah would not be attacking us. Because if they started attacking us, they'd be afraid we'd attack Iran. It's probably going to make getting things in our airport very hard for the next few days. I don't know. I got one package I got to try to track and see where it is. Another one's already in Israel, so it'll get delivered. Once it's in Israel, it's a piece of cake. It's actually out of the airport even, so. Damage, let's see. They want to neutralize Iran's air force, if you want to call that an air force. Part of the broader goal to break Iran's military ability to operate. Okay, so they want to destroy the Navy. Trump repeatedly claimed the Navy has been eliminated or severely degraded. It's true, but they have the go-fast boats, and they have probably thousands of them, and that's dangerous. The Air Force has been decimated. I don't believe there's much to talk about there. It's decimated. Prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. I don't pay attention to that, but he said that's an objective of his. Next, stop Iran's proxies from destabilizing the region. Goal to ensure Iran-backed groups can no longer operate effectively. Now, I never thought of this till now. Maybe he's bringing those, it's called a MEU, M-E-U, the Expeditionary Force Marines, and I'm going to talk about that with you in a minute. Is he going to put those in Lebanon to get Hezbollah? He might put them in Yemen too to get the Houthis. He might use them in Iran. Some of the experts say putting them on Carg Island is a scary proposition. First of all, Carg Island is booby trapped. That's when 90% of Iran oil deliveries happen. In other words, oil doesn't go out on airplanes or trains, it goes out on tanker Navy vessels, tanker ships. They dock at Carg Island, which is 15 miles away from Iran. They fill the ship up, the ship shoves off and takes the oil wherever it's going to go. 90% of their oil goes from Carg Island. So what's easiest is to just blow Carg Island up. If you try to save Carg Island, then how are you going to kill the soldiers on there and destroy their capability for oil? So Netanyahu is telling Trump that we got to destroy their ability to make money, which is oil and LNG, liquid natural gas. They don't have any other way to make money. Did you ever buy a car made in Iran? A Molomobile, or a motorcycle? No. Do you ever buy a refrigerator or a microwave or an oven made in Iran? No. Do you ever buy any shoes made in Iran? No. Do you ever buy anything made in Iran? No. Maybe you got some Iranian pistachio nuts in the old days or something, but no, I mean, what do they got? They got oil and liquid natural gas, and that's all they care about. They make missiles and drones. Do they make their own aircraft or their own cars and motorcycles? And no. Might they make their own military vehicles? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. So their whole industry is that. They're not like France that has what I have Peugeot and Renault, right? France has weapons they sell, military weapons. They got cosmetics and perfume, fashion, clothing. They got stuff, right? Italy got stuff. Germany has stuff. Like what? Like Volkswagen, Porsche, Mercedes, BMW motorcycles, as well as, But I mean, what does, what does Iran have? Nothing. So you shut off Carg Island and you shut down 90% of their economy. Now, Trump has still got his pipe dream that, I'll get Iran's oil. And he's starting to realize that he's not. The fact that he's bombing the missile sites means to me he wants to bring it to an end. Now, he's hoping that if he blows up the missile cities, the missile launch facilities, they can't rebuild them because that's involving going out on the surface and, well, he wants the missile cities finished. So the mullahs running Iran are going to say to themselves, our hope is gone. Okay? We're not bringing the nations to their knees. They're not going to settle with us. They're not going to do anything. What do you guys want to do? They're probably going to say, let's just switch it to a ground war and repel them. So then they'll use their military forces, which they're with their reservists and volunteer gangs and militias and whatever. They probably get up to 1 million. They got a lot of tanks and armor and artillery and guns and, landmines. And they're dangerous. Mortars, and it'd be a bad fight. So Trump might be saying, why have that fight? I don't care about that fight. I'm not going to bring 400,000 or 500,000 soldiers over here for 9 months to go sit there and slug it out with them. The heck with that. I'll just destroy Card Island. I'll destroy all their missile cities, their nuclear facilities, and they can't do anything to harm us. And just leave them there, and they'll eventually go their merry way. That's what's going to happen. That's all that's going to happen. Then what? He might leave the Straits of Hormuz closed. He may just leave and not worry about it. He's concerned about Cuba. He wants that Cuba thing finished. So he's going to bring some military into Cuba. Probably one Marine expeditionary force would do the whole job. I mean, how many thousand troops does he need in Cuba? I don't know, maybe 5,000. But, they got Guantanamo Bay, where they got that prison. He could stage them there, and they could literally walk in or drive into the other part of Cuba and take it over. I mean, what's he going to need for air support? 12, 15 jets. I mean, he doesn't need anything. With a little bit of luck, he could take Cuba out in 6 hours, 4 hours. I think 36 hours would be on the high side. So back to Iran. If he leaves the Persian Gulf closed, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman need to, they're basically going to be sucking wind to deliver their oil, which is going to cause problems in the international front. And he might want that. Trump might want that to punish the people that say they're allies of the United States and won't do anything to help the United States when they ask for help. So then he's going to turn around and say, you want oil, go get it yourself. And that's not being nice to Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. But Jordan doesn't export oil. So I don't know what he's going to do. I don't really know. And I don't really know if the Iranians are going to really hang on to running a closure of the Persian Gulf when their missiles are shut down. I don't know. I don't know. It looks to me that Trump is writing off the oil. When he starts talking about destroying all the electric generators over there, that is tied at destroying the country. What Trump is saying, and he's not saying it, he won't verbalize it, is if we leave the Iranians there, they're going to rebuild and we're going to be back there in 2 years. He's thinking he'll be back there before the end of his term in 3 years. And he doesn't want to deal with this again. He thinks it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a stress. He doesn't need it. He said, I don't need this garbage. I got better things to worry about. This isn't putting any money in my pocket. It's a drain on the United States. It's stupid. So he's just ending it pretty much forever, which is the prophecy. He's just ending it where you can't live there. He's already said he's going to hit water desalination. The only reason you're going to hit water desalination is you're telling them there's no more country. You're gone. Now, how does Iraq get destroyed? Well, they go into the Iranians flee into Iraq, some of them, and try to press the attacks out of Iraq or something like that. And then they get bombed out. Iraq is nowhere near fortified, anywhere near like Iran. Nothing like it of the sort. It could go out real easy. Yeah, that's the deal. That's what I think he's doing. I'm going to take a break for a minute. We'll come back and talk about some more stuff on this. I think he's fulfilling prophecy. He doesn't know it. He doesn't believe in prophecy, but that's what he's doing. God's doing it, not him. Oh, this is good for Sean Neal. No, I was going to go back to something. I was going to go get something. Yeah, I can probably make some. My wife is making some sort of a Passover thing. She said, "What should we have?" I don't want to do lamb. So I said, "Well, I don't really think we should do lamb either. It's a lot of work." So she's making fried chicken, which is a lot easier to deal with than lamb. I don't know where I'm going to put this, but so she's hard at work, and then she's going to be tired from the stroke thing, so I don't even know why she's going through this, but all right. I got pretzel-like object. They sell these in Israel. They actually taste like American pretzels, but they don't put salt on them. Why? Because the rabbis poisoned the people in Israel with their kosher food. They load it up with salt. And they don't use the healthy salt. They use the salt you would throw down on your driveway in the snow. Because people eat too much bad salt in the koshering process. Okay. I don't know how they're going to hit the proxies unless they're going to reroute these Marine Expeditionary Forces to go in and do it. In which case, they're going to slaughter the proxies. He might be planning on just busting Iran out totally. So there's no money to pay the proxies, no weapons to give them, and then Israel can just clean them up. That'll work. Slowly, but it'll work. The Marine Expeditionary Forces, you got to learn how they operate. It's pretty interesting. They come with 3 warships. They come with a big deck amphibious assault ship, which is like a small aircraft carrier. Oh, this thing's driving me crazy here. iPad problems, the stinking iPads. That's about, I think it gets up about 850, 900 feet. The big aircraft carriers, I think, get up to 1,000, 1,100 feet, something like that. They carry helicopters like Osprey, which I think transports heavy equipment. They carry attack helicopters. And they carry F-35s that are generally, they can take off on the deck or vertical takeoff. They call it an F-35B. It's still an F-35, stealth jet. So it operates like a small aircraft carrier. But it carries marine vehicles and landing craft. Then they carry an LSD, which is a landing ship that's carrying heavy equipment. So they got 2 of the 3 ships will carry helicopters and planes and soldiers, and one of them will carry heavy equipment and stuff. And together, the 3 ships carry about 2,200 Marines. They carry the aircraft, armored vehicles. They no longer carry heavy tanks. They carry light armored vehicles that are able to, let's say, swim in the water, so they can drive them off when they're near land and they can propel themselves onto the land. They'll usually have about 6 to 8 F-35s. That's all. they'll carry 10 to 12 Osprey those are those funny plane helicopter things that take off. It's kind of a plane with they point the engines up and they go up and then they level the engines and they go like a plane. And they'll have these Super Stallion planes. I think it's a helicopter. Vipers, Venom, stuff like that. I believe these are helicopters. Maybe some of them are planes. I don't know. The contingency of the planes that they have is going to vary according to the mission. The total aircraft is going to be a mix of different planes and helicopters, 20 to 30 aircraft. And they'll carry 20 or more light armored amphibious vehicles. So it's no fun for the enemy to stop them from landing on the beachhead. Because if they shoot them with machine guns, chances are the bullets are just going to chip the paint and bounce off the armored vehicle. They're going to have 2 MEU groups here. There's talk of a third, but we don't know. One of the MEU groups is in theater now, and the other one is coming. So it's a total of 6 warships and about 4,500 Marines. That's a formidable force. Now, if Trump wants to escalate, they have a way to escalate that the military trains for, these expeditionary Marines train for. And that's, I believe they designated an MRB. And you're talking now 14,000 Marines. And you're probably out at it, depending on the mission, 7, 8, 9 ships. Maybe more, depending, what they want to bring with them. Depends on the terrain, the mission, what they're doing, the weather. Is it snowing? Is it temperate? Is it tropical? Now they can go over 14,000. If they want to make it 40,000, they could probably do that too. But when you're talking about going in on the ground and fighting Iran and pulling them out of these mountains and underground tunnels, you're talking about, I would think, at least 250,000 soldiers, and that's really skimpy. And Trump's going to be probably carrying 10 or 20,000 coffins before it's over, if they try that. He ain't doing it. He likes the soldiers. He's not going to do that. So maybe he is going to take Carg Island. But if he's going to be destroying the whole infrastructure of Iran, what does he need Carg Island for? But what does he want to do with them? He wants to do something with them. I don't know what. He might be undecided. He might think with the B-2s and the B-52s bombing their missile cities and shutting down their missiles may get them to rethink and try to negotiate themselves a life. But I don't think Trump is going to let them stay in Iran and run the country. I don't think he'll do that. He might use the Expeditionary Force Marines to attack Karg Island and other pieces of land on the Persian Gulf that, by the Straits of Hormuz, that Iran has missile and artillery and other fortifications to attack shipping in the Persian Gulf, and he may send them there, as well as Karg Island. That would be what I think he'll do. I think the A-10 Warthogs are designed to attack ground troops and those go-fast boats. The go-fast boats pose a minimal threat to aircraft. They could have a shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missile on there that is somewhat of a threat. It could be wire-guided or laser, probably not wire-guided, laser-directed. The Warthog probably has countermeasures, or they wouldn't be using them. Or it'll shred those boats. It'll shred them. Would Trump redeploy them to destroy the proxies? I doubt it. That's more complicated than you think. What could happen is this. Iran will mobilize the Houthis if they'll actually go in. They may not. They may see Iran losing and they don't want any part of it anymore. Or they might go in. If they go in and start shutting down the Red Sea, the plan would be Trump and Israel attacking by air whatever we could attack, which would, it's not Iran, it'd probably be 10 days of attacks, 2 weeks. Then he could bring an Expeditionary Force Marine unit in to go in and start killing them in the caves, well, in the tunnels. He could. He might, if he's afraid they're going to shut the shipping off again, he might do that. If they cut the internet cables, then there'll be definitely measures taken against them. There's a lot of problems with that because she can't bring those ships and soldiers over there unless he makes sure that the Houthi missile launching capability is severely crippled, so there's no risk. And I don't know if he can do that. It's complications. I think it's safe to say Egypt will join Trump and maybe even join Israel to attack the Houthis because Egypt loses revenue when they shut the Red Sea. And that revenue keeps Egypt going. See, there again, did you ever buy an Egyptian refrigerator or a Cairo mobile Egyptian car, or a pyramid motorcycle or anything? No. They get tourist revenue from dumb people going over there to look at demonic images. And they got fishing. They do a lot of fish export. It makes them some money. Well, just another backwards Muslim country is all they are. It's a problem what to do with them. So I have to say, right now, I don't see any signs of a Marine expeditionary units being deployed to Yemen or Lebanon. But that could change. I'm not seeing it, but it may happen. The other thing is some of these missile cities are under 1,500 feet of mountain, and even the bunker buster bombs may not cut it, so they may need boots on the ground to approach those sites and just physically walk around and look for the entrances, the exits, and so forth, the air vents, and blow those up. And that's the end of that. They got to have air vents. If you cut their air vents off, well, it may take a little while till they're deceased, but you're basically giving them a choice to exit, if there still are exits that work, or just die of it, no air. I don't know what they'll do. I have no idea. So I'm very, very glad to hear that Netanyahu and him are attacking the missile cities. Netanyahu is going to be more effective in, we're hitting together, Israel and America, the factories that make munitions. We hit the third steel plant out of 4. You use steel to make the encasements for drones and missiles, and you don't make them out of polymer. So that's finished. Anything to do with making weapons is getting blown up. And they might need boots on the ground to get into certain tunnels that are storing weapons, blow those up, missile cities. places the Iranian military is hiding in tunnels and that sort of thing. It's very, very dangerous to have boots on the ground inside Iran. Very dangerous because they got soldiers in these mountains in caves and stuff. You're not going to get them. And they got, missile pod launchers, not long range missiles, things that go maybe 1 or 2 or 3 miles or something. You might have 16 or 24 in a pod, and they're small. They're about that thick, little warheads like that, but they're dangerous for personnel. And they can launch 24 in one shot at a bunch of soldiers and cause a lot of casualties and deaths. Then they got mortars, and they got artillery. And they could hide all of this stuff inside the cave. And then they got anti-tank shoulder-fired missiles, which can take out tanks and jeeps and personnel carriers, cars, and soldiers in a tent, even, anything. They want to, and it'll blow up. It's dangerous. So I think Trump wants to teach Europe a lesson, and that's just going to alienate them against him worse and push us more and more forward to Jeremiah 50 and 51, not Ezekiel 38, 39. Then after they get rid of the daughter of Babylon, they're going to want to get rid of us and surround us. And that's your Zechariah 12. Now, how long that siege lasts, I don't know. I don't think it would last too long, or we'd be starving to death, and it doesn't talk about us starving. We also don't read anything about our military. See, God in numerous places says he's going to destroy the military of the nations. He might get rid of Israel's military because the people are all trusting in their militaries. And when you destroy the militaries, there's a much better chance of them turning to God. So that's going to happen, I believe. But that doesn't mean he has to arrange for Israel to be destroyed. It need not be. So what else can I tell you? It's hard here. They're attacking Israel a lot. Hezbollah still has very high launch capability, and I'm reading that slowly but surely we're cutting out these missile city launches. There's one called Number 15, and it's not able to launch missiles correctly anymore. I mean, it's going to take a few weeks. I agree with Trump, because there's a bunch of them. There's probably 40, but Trump's got a lot of airplanes, and so do we. I don't trust Trump either. It says that he will do, well, America's going to do evil in our sight. I was thinking, does that mean that Trump is going to just pull out and leave us to deal with Iran and their missile launches continuing? No, that wouldn't do evil in our sight. Evil in our sight is in Israel evil. And it may not be Trump, it may be somebody else. Am I Trump's father? Well, I'm not his mother, and I'm not his father, and I don't like Trump. But Trump is being used of God to knock off the enemies of Israel, which also caused the Muslims to kill other Muslims and destroy their countries, which is interesting. And that's recompenses. We're in the time of recompenses now, payback to the nations over the controversy of Zion, Isaiah 34, verse 8. So that's interesting, and Trump brought that about. I don't think Satan's very happy about that, but I could care less about Satan. Um, let's see. What else? What else? What else? Uh, that's about it. So we're gonna have a whole holiday here. I imagine they're gonna try to launch as much stuff at us as they can to ruin the holiday in Israel. They certainly ruined the tourism. It's a big tourism event when there's no war. The Jews from not only America and Canada and Australia and New Zealand, but heavily from France and Great Britain, come to Israel and spend the week, the Passover here in Israel. That's a vacation time for them, and they like it. They go to the synagogues. These are, what you would refer to as observant Jews that observe the rabbis' Talmudic holidays, and they come over. That's not happening. They're not coming. I mean, you go get a flight. You're not getting flights. They're restricting flights tremendously. They don't want people bringing carry-on luggage. They want 50 people on a plane, no carry-on luggage, so the plane can carry extra fuel. So if it has to circle for a couple of hours or something, it can. And then when the people land, they get off the plane pronto danto. There's no offloading the luggage or nothing. So the people grab their carry-on, they go down the steps, they get in a bus, they're out of there, and then the plane's gone. It probably fills up with fuel and service and but they get the people off the plane. That's the important thing. And once they get the people inside the terminal, there's shelters in the terminal. It's for a small amount of people. So if you're bringing a lot of planes in with 350 people on a plane and carry on luggage, and they got all these suitcases, number one, if there's a red alert at the airport, how do they schlep the suitcases into the shelter? They don't. And when they leave them out there, we think everybody's going to be nice and honest on the good honor system, and people aren't going to start attacking each other's luggage and stealing it. Oh, who the heck knows what would happen? It would be a nightmare. People wouldn't want to leave their luggage. They wouldn't go in the shelter because they don't want to lose their luggage, or they'd bring it. I don't know what would happen. But with 50 people on a plane and you don't have any carry on, you don't have any checked baggage, just carry on. Yeah, they can briskly go into the shelter. You know, Israel's trying to be very careful and protective. You understand? So there's no real tourists coming in, and then trying to get out is another nightmare. And a lot of times, what you might have to do is grab one of these flights to Cyprus, which is maybe less than an hour flight, and get off in Cyprus and take another plane. Uh, So if you want to go back to America or Paris or London, you might be able to get to Paris and London from Cyprus, but America, you might have to go to Paris and then from Paris catch a flight to America. It could be a nightmare. Not a nightmare. It could be a pain in the neck. It could take you 30 hours or something. Who knows? So the tourism is way down. Some tourists got out of Israel by taking buses. The embassy was arranging buses to the airport in Jordan. You could do it yourself without them. You go to the border checkpoint, which is in the Galilee, where Jordan has and you just show your American passport and they stamp it and let you go in. And then you grab a taxi when you cross the border and you get to an airport in Jordan, and you previously would have made a reservation, and you get to the airport and you get on a plane from Jordan. Jordan was not majorly attacked, but it was attacked, and they could rain missiles on the airport of Jordan, but that's what some of the people did to get out. Another way to get out that is perhaps more, well, I don't know if it's more efficient, different, is you head down to the south of Israel near Eilat, and there's a border crossing where you walk into Egypt. So you take a bus or a taxi to the border crossing inside Israel. You get off and you walk into Egypt. Again, you show your passport and they just stamp it, And then you grab a taxi to the Cairo airport, where you probably made a reservation to get a flight wherever the heck you wanted to go out of Cairo. They might have flights directly to America, or they might not, in which case, if you're in Cairo, where would you go? Well, you could go to Spain or Portugal or France, and from there catch flights anywhere. That would be, or you might have flights from Cairo to America. I don't know. You probably do. That's, I guess people have been doing that. I'm proud to say I've never been in Asia, in Cairo or Jordan. I wouldn't go there. Muslim majority countries, why would I go there? But people were using it as an escape hatch to get back to America or Europe. So yeah, they're hurting tourism. Tourism in Israel has been beaten down so bad. COVID, which was 2019 and 20, I think. Then we made a comeback for a while. Probably by 21, we made a comeback. And then 23, we had the war and it went down again. Even in 21 and 22, people were still COVID worried, it was still going on. So, tourism is, going back before 2019, tourists were swarming all over the place. We had tourists left, right, and center. And more tourists you knew what to do with. They were all over the place, Then that stopped. And it never really got going again. So I'm sure there's a whole lot of people that worked for years in tourism that got knocked off. A lot of people that have Airbnb houses just started renting them out by the month, giving people 1 year lease and stuff like that. Furnished apartment, and it's better than nothing. So that's what they were doing. Otherwise, you get somebody that stays there for 2 days every month. You get 2 days or 3 days of occupancy. No, there's always tourists here because it's Israel. So you're always going to have a bunch of people who are going to come anyway. So you have that, so there's always some tourists. And then you have Israeli tourists from inside Israel that travel around and want to stay somewhere else in Israel. Like an Israeli may want to go down to a lot when it's cold and rainy and nasty and get an Airbnb down on a lot for 3 or 4 days and just warm up. That could happen. So it's basically we're being, it's I will punish. God says I am for you, and then he says he's gonna, punish us. We're not going to get away without getting punished. So we're being punished, but it looks like it's coming to an end. When I start seeing the Muslims kill each other and attack each other, which is what Iran is doing with Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and even Jordan, and even Turkey, and Iraq. They're attacking parts of Iraq, and it's crazy. And then I start thinking, okay, this is starting to come to the end of recompenses, because it's going to switch into Day of Vengeance. So there you have it. And a prophecy looks like it's getting fulfilled perfectly with Elam. And that means that Edom, which is Yemen, is going to go pretty quick because they're tied together with Iran. So let's see how quick they get him. But that's also in Jeremiah 49. It refers to Edom. And Edom will be destroyed to such a level that nobody lives there anymore. All right, I'll do a prayer and we'll get going. My Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and their households. I pray for all of us to have your strength, stamina, and endurance, and your healing and recuperative power to flow through us. And I pray that all of us and our animals and pets be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray we all learn the scriptures better and we could absorb the knowledge in the scriptures better. I pray that we all have adequate finances and then some. I pray if any of us need to find a job, we get a good job. And if any of us need more clients or customers for our business, we find or get those also. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, as a prayer, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now for spiritual warfare, I loose off of me and my wife and all the true believers and their households any and all witchcraft or sorcery targeting them, their households, anything they own, possess, control, set their hand to, pertaining to me and my wife too. It's all cast, null and void, of no value, no effect, forever, and shall never return. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I submit that to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with these things in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, even if it's a video and you're a believer. If you're a believer, please agree. It makes it stronger. So I'll keep you guys updated. If anything unusual happens, I'll do a live stream to update, or else I'll just put it on Telegram. Okay, and I'm out. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And thank you.